serious.
When we come back this morning, a good year gets even better for Regeneron. The biotech firm's eye disorder drug gets FDA approval. We'll talk exclusively with the CEO. And as we go to break, one more look at futures. You'll hear often this morning that it's about the super committee, but I think we all know it's about a lot more than that. We'll be right back.
I know we're going to be hearing from Regeneron. I mean, there's a company that has got something huge. That's who you buy. A company has something huge in the pipe, not something that just could be like fancy.
An exclusive with the CEO of Regeneron. The biotech firm gets good news from the FDA about its eye disorder drug. The stock is one of this morning's few winners, up by a whopping 10%. Stay tuned for that.
Friday evening, Regeneron won FDA approval for their drug Eylea to try a common cause of blindness affecting more than 1.5 million seniors. This morning on the Squawk on the Street exclusive, Dr. Len Schleifer is Regeneron's CEO and founder. He joins us here on set along with Jim and Melissa. Congratulations. Big deal.
Yeah, thanks, Carl.
What does it mean for you? How does it change the trajectory of the company overall?
Well, we've been at this for a long time, and some of your viewers are familiar when things weren't going so well, and Jim was happy to have us on when the stock was about $3 a share, and we've come a long way since then. And I think the reason we've come a long way, we've stuck with what works, what works in our industry is science. So we're not just a company that made one bet on a single molecule, which fell across the finish line with nothing behind it. Thanks really to the genius of my partner, George Ankopoulos, who runs all of our science. We've got 10 molecules in development besides Eylea that we think could make a difference for patients, and that's what this is all about.
So are your concerns now about supply, about making enough, about getting doctors on board? What?
No, I don't think supply is an issue. We've got the product trucked to our warehouse and on to its distributor this morning, and doctors can get it in their offices tomorrow morning. We've got plenty made, and we can supply the market. Now we have to get the message out to the docs, what's in our label, and our label we think is very attractive. It says that the product was shown to be clinically equivalent to the market leader, but only needed half as many shots in the eye on average. And that's a big deal when you're talking about a poke in the eye.
Yeah, I mean, look, my understanding, I've already talked to people who have this terrible disease, and the first thing they said was, hallelujah, there is nothing worse than getting a needle in the eye, and you've solved a major issue. Now, I've got to ask you, aren't you just shocked that a Gilead would buy something of this total two in the bush when you've got, I'm sure your partnership with Sanofi is so fabulous. You guys actually have something cooking right now, right?
Right. Well, look, I think the Gilead deal says one thing, is that at the end of the day, if you've got a good idea and a good product that really can make a difference to patients, there's value. And I think that we, as an industry, we've gotten a little bit away from the fact that we can have winners for everybody. We can have a winner for patients, we can have a winner for the healthcare system, and we can have a winner for shareholders. That's what we think we can do with our product, Eylea, and that's what we think we can do with our pipeline. So it's not surprising that if Gilead thought they could do that with Pharmaceuticals assets, that they would pay a lot of money for that.
What are your market share forecasts for the U.S. market? 4.5% is what Citi is at, which would get them to 100 million sales in 2012. Does that sound on track, or are you more ambitious than just 4.5%?
Well, we don't really want to project right now. We're just getting started, and we want to focus on getting the message out. The message to us is we've got a product that we hope that can make a difference for patients. A shot in the eye is a terrible thing because it has lots of risk, but going blind or losing your sight is worse. So people need to get this treatment. We don't have to develop this market. We just have to get out there and talk about what's in our label.
What is the status of the Roche lawsuit in terms of they opted to not have an injunction but instead to have preferred royalties? Are you in talks about that right now?
Right.
Is that going to be a stumbling block to getting this drug to the market?
It's a good question, Melissa, but we don't talk about negotiations or anything like that. I can tell you that the lawsuit is proceeding. It's proceeding in White Plains, where we brought it. It's not going to be a trial probably for a couple of years, so it'll do its thing. We don't think we infringe any of Genentech's valid patents.
It was a busy week for the FDA in general. Avastin on one side, your news. Do you feel the agency is in a mode that encourages innovation? Because there have been critics who say that it is not.
No, absolutely. That this notion that the FDA doesn't encourage innovation or that the FDA is the blockade for innovation, absolutely wrong. In fact, without without the FDA, the only people who would win would be the marketeers, the people who have big marketing movements. I think it was a big mistake to fight, try and keep Avastin on the market. It didn't meet the standards, and we need to have standards. There's nothing that the FDA is doing that's standing in the way of innovation.
Terrific. Dr. Hamburg's fabulous. And you're so right. I think that we often hear CEOs blame the FDA. I think that the problem is within themselves, not the stars.
You know, we had a delay, and the truth of the matter is that they make sure that everything is done right and perfectly, and that's what the public is paying for. Yeah. Nothing wrong with it.
Dr. Schleifer, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Carl. Thanks,
Great job,
Jim.
Glenn.
Thanks, Melissa.
Great job.
Staying at it.
A lot more Squawk on the Street.